from the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, evening, afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Practitioner Brief. James Azar here with the latest cybersecurity news and what's going on without all the fluff and buzz and clickbait. Let's just make it what it is. All right. So thank you for tuning in. Please make sure to subscribe to the podcast. If you're not following us on YouTube, please go to YouTube and follow the CyberHub podcast. In November, I'm launching a brand new segment only on YouTube, nowhere else. It's a 5-minute video, and we highlight different things cybersecurity practitioners deal with. So we start with the Office of the CISO, move all the way down. It's a weekly video, 5 minutes. It's unbelievable. You guys definitely want to check it out. So if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, go do so right now. Good morning to everyone tuning in. We've got a great show, but the show would not be possible without our friends over at KnowBe4 for their support. And tomorrow, right here on the Practitioner Brief, Yella, one of the cybersecurity evangelists for KnowBe4, will be joining me to talk a little bit about Cybersecurity Awareness Month. Obviously, this month is a crazy one for a lot of us. Let's not take away what's been happening all week, starting with Facebook and everything else. This has been a hectic week, but we'll say good morning to our good friend Brent Joel from North Carolina. Good morning, David. Good morning to you, Corey. Good morning, and thank you for the intro comment there. Good morning to Ryan, and good morning to Tyler. Good morning to everyone that's here with us. There, we have a tradition. If this is your first time tuning in, we like to have a little sip of coffee. I didn't invent this, right? Scott Adams kind of does this. I love Scott Adams, and it was just something I was like, well, you know, we can't just talk cyber without getting a little bit. I'm an espresso drinker. I don't drink black coffee. This is my double espresso. Whatever you're drinking, make it yours. Good morning. Coffee cup cheers, folks. The awesome, magnificent Renee Small. Good morning to you. Super recruiter, one of the greatest people. Folks, let's get right into what's going on. Apache is now fixing an actively exploited zero-day vulnerability. It is urged to patch now. I'm going to give you guys a little history lesson. And I want to take you back to a early fall day in September of 2017. Many of you were going about your days like everything was fine. You were driving to work, dropping your kids off at school, enjoying breakfast with your significant other. You were just going about your day, and then all of a sudden your phone lights up with a bunch of alerts. And those alerts all say, massive data breach at Equifax. 148 million Americans impacted. All the data, everything gone. Root cause, Apache struts. One of the causes. Right? There are many others with Equifax. We can't blame it on one, but we'll say this one right here. Apache was not patched. Patch fell through. The CEO, Dick Smith, went to Congress and blamed it on one guy. I've had that guy on my show. Go to my YouTube channel. Look it up. All right? We know it wasn't one guy. It was systematic failure. Well, now, Apache has a actively exploited zero-day vulnerability that it has impacting the HTTP web server. It addresses two different vulnerabilities, one of which is an actively exploited path traversal and file disclosure flaw. The HTTP server is an open source cross-platform web server that's extremely popular, one, because it's versatile, it's robust, and guess what? Best part of anything in life, when it's free, it's awesome, right? Not always. So the actively exploited zero days track the CVE 2021-41773. It enables actors to map URLs to files outside of the expected document route by launching a path traversal attack. These attacks involve sending request to access backend or sensitive server directories and should be out of reach. Normally, these requests would be blocked, but in this case, they're bypassed using encoded characteristics for the URL. Additionally, some exploits of this flaw may lead to leaking of the source of the interpreted file, like the CGI script. For the attack to work, the target has to run the HTTP server 2.4.49 and also has to have all required denied access controls parameter disabled. enabled. This appears to be the default configuration as well. Apache has now patched this up, but Shodan shows that there's over 100,000 Apache HTTP servers, 2.4 but 4.9 deployments online. Folks, that's over 100,000 active vulnerabilities that threat actors can take advantage of. Most of them right here in this great country, these United States of America, 43,429, nearly 43% of them, followed by Germany, Canada, France, and our friends across the pond in the UK. The vulnerability was discovered and reported to Apache by security researcher Ash Dalton and the cPanel security team on September 29th. And the patch is already out, folks. So go patch this. This is no laughing matter. David says, morning to everyone. First time tuning in. Thank you, David. Got to take my sip of coffee. I love drinking coffee, man. I drink so much coffee. Shouldn't be proud of it, but it's if my addiction is coffee and life and security, then by all means, I'm blessed. Let's talk about Chase Bank, who's being heavily targeted by an XBALTI phishing kit. From mid-May to mid-August, researchers detected a 300% increase in phishing URLs within their own telemetry targeting Chase Bank. Chase was the 6th most targeted brand behind obvious companies like PayPal, Apple, Facebook, and obviously Office 365. During this period, a cloud threat intelligence detected notable increase in phishing kits designed to mimic the Chase banking portal. Chase is, again, a close second to only Microsoft Office 365, or now it's Microsoft 365. Microsoft changes names so often I just don't know what it is anymore. We'll just say 365. Phishing kits can be purchased from the internet, used by anyone. The aftermarket for phishing kits is unbelievable. For like $80 or $100, you can buy a phishing kit. It's really, really cheap. And so most of the phishing kit analyzers are highly sophisticated and are built to harvest more than just the victim's email address and password. A lot of them are trying to collect banking and credit card information, social security number, home addresses, other sensitive types of information, as well as capturing codes used for two-factor authentication. Now, what does that mean? Here's what I want to talk about. We've talked a lot about MFA. Over the last week, we've had a lot of different stories for MFA. If you go back and watch the practitioner briefs from Monday, from last week, from the day before, from even yesterday, we talk about MFA and proper deployment of MFA. Just last month, I did a webinar with the legendary Roger Grimes, who wrote the book on hacking MFA. And in that, we talked about hacking multi-factor authentication and the proper deployment of multi-factor authentication, meaning just turning it on isn't enough. You got to know how to deploy it, what are some of the workarounds, and how do you authenticate the user. We talked a little bit about zero trust and all that kind of stuff, but we're not going to get into that right now. I will post that webinar because now it's more relevant than ever on our YouTube channel. So you can go check that out at CyberHub Podcast. I'll post that webinar tomorrow. Here's the other aspect of this, all right? There's smishing, phishing, and all of that. Once they get access to your multi-factor, to your two-factor authentication code, they can take that two-factor authentication code, they can gain access to your account without you even knowing, and they've got all this different information. Also, they can then interact with you on a different number. And that way, every time they try to log in, they text you, and you get a code that hits yeah, or a Y, or a no, or you put in a 6-digit number to authenticate all kinds of stuff. By all means, if you can use an app for multi-factor authentication, that's the best thing you could possibly use at the moment. Really, it's super effective. It's so much better than text. So much better than text. I know some banks still haven't transitioned there, and that's simply because of the age gap in users. Users like myself, younger and maybe even a little bit older, would be able to deal with that. However, other users who are maybe in the late, who are a bit older than I am, may not be able to understand to open their app, then have to go to another app, then come back to that app. That slows them down. That's ineffective. And now comes the balance of any security practitioner, business operations versus actual security. And that's significant. So if you're a Chase customer, make sure when you're updating your passwords, make sure you're checking the URLs very, very effectively. Chase never asks you for this kind of personal information online. They just don't do it. I actually verified it this morning with someone I know who works at Chase, and I was given with good confidence. They never ask you for this kind of information. So please make sure to share it. All right, I want to say good morning to Nick. Good morning to Ashley and Danielle. Great for you to be with us. And MFA is better than nothing. Indeed, it's better than nothing, but properly deploying it is just as important, right? Please. Researchers discover a UEFI bootkit targeting Windows computers that's been around since 2012. The researchers disclosed on Tuesday the details of a previously undocumented unified extensible firmware interface bootkit that has been put to use by threat actors to backdoor Windows system as early as 2012. This they do by modifying a legitimate Windows boot manager binary to achieve persistence, once again demonstrating how technology meant to secure the environment prior to loading the operating system is increasingly becoming the tempting target. This was obviously done by the folks over at ESET. They've named the new malware eSpectre for its ability to persist on an EFI system partition, in addition to circumventing Microsoft Windows driver signature enforcement to load its own unsigned driver that can be used to facilitate espionage activities like document theft, key logging, screen monitoring, by periodically capturing screenshots. The intrusion route still does not remain known, but this is out there. This kind of goes into the greater threat of understanding that if we don't transition our businesses to security by design from the onset, if we don't change that mind of thinking, if we say that this process can't be done, someone will prove us wrong. We got to start looking at security holistically as a business driver from the very onset, and that's how we do that. There's a lot more on this, essentially from the Bootkit perspective. You can obviously see more of this here. All the links to all the stories are in the show notes, so you guys can check them out as well. We're almost out of time, so I want to get to our two last stories today as well. One of them is I commend Arizona Governor Doug Ducey, who's launched a cyber command center that's going to deal with threats to government computers. In a ceremony Monday, the Department of Public Safety's Arizona Counterterrorism Information Center in Phoenix, Ducey said that the command center will be critical to ensuring the state's cyber infrastructure remains safe and secure. The center will be a central location for cybersecurity professionals, local, state, and federal agencies to prevent and respond to cyber attacks. Last month, the Arizona Department of Homeland Security detected and alerted on approximately 68 million threats and protected state websites from more than 800,000 cyber attacks. Folks, that's a state where I'd have no problem paying taxes if they're defending the state infrastructure that way. And that's rolling down. So they're talking about all government computers. That means school districts, municipal governments, city governments, etc. That's all very, very effective. Good job. Good vision by the governor there. That's absolutely magnificent. And finally, a new study is linking Disparate malware attacks to Chinese threat actors. This is being related to APT41, which has been linked to seemingly disparate malware campaigns, according to fresh research that has mapped together additional parts of the group's network infrastructure to hit upon state-sponsored campaign that take advantage of COVID-themed phishing lures to target victims in India. Now, I want to get to the whole aspect of this because this is very geopolitical in nature. China and India see each other as an existential threat to each other. They're both nuclear. They're both obviously nuclear powered, but they see cybersecurity as being their fifth dimension for warfare. There's also the traditional dimensions of warfare. There's a constant scrimmage on the border. Last year, there were about, India had about 20 some odd people killed in a firefight with Chinese soldiers. China said no one was injured, but I've received reports from within China that over 200 Chinese soldiers were killed in that same scrimmage. China just is about saving face, so they never admit it. Now they're launching Chinese cyber threats in order to gain state-sponsored espionage activity with financially motivated operations. This goes also back as far as 2012. In addition, the group is known for staging cybercrime intrusions that are aimed at stealing source code and digital certificates, virtual currency manipulation, and deploying ransomware. Now, here's where this comes into impact, folks. Here's one thing for that. I want to point this out. A lot of us use offshore organizations to help us with different things we're doing technologically within our organization. Many of those organizations have locations in India. Chinese companies sometimes understand I can't target the US side, but I can sure as hell go after the Indian side. So when you're working with partners in India within your organization, please make sure to apply strict security controls, get it all integrated as part of your holistic security approach. Don't look at it as a third-party contractor. Don't think that a contract giving them all the liability is going to get you anything. A lot of the companies in India are dealing with state actors, specifically China. China has a lot of resources, a lot of APTs dedicated to targeting the folks over in India. A lot of us work with organizations within India, so it's very important that we partner up, and that's the reason I bring this story up. When was the last time you sat down, looked at all your different partners in India, and started looking at the risk assessment they post to your organization? What are they doing? And could you possibly re-engage with them and maybe attribute some security controls to their environments that help keep you ultimately secure? Folks, that's it for our practitioner brief here today. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m. live right here on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Go check out our CyberHub podcast channel. You don't want to miss it. A brand new CISO talk dropped yesterday with my very good friend, Michael Felker. He's the VP of Information Security over at the Leaf Group. We had an unbelievable conversation. We talked about how do you connect finance, meaning the financial business side of the company, to cybersecurity as a CISO. A wonderful, great, insightful conversation. Takes just 40 minutes of your time to check it out. Please go check out the CISO Talk podcast. You can find it on your favorite podcast listening platform, on our YouTube channel, or right here on LinkedIn, folks. Go check it out. That's it for us all here. I'll be back tomorrow with Yella from KnowBe4. We'll talk about Cybersecurity Awareness Month, some awareness tips, and I'll challenge you as well. So until tomorrow, folks, have a great rest of your day. It's almost Friday. Wednesday will be over just before you know it. Have a great rest of your day and stay cyber safe. Cheers. So thank you so much for watching.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.